In this video, we're going to be creating a program that utilizes external modules. External modules allow you to organize your code in separate files. Once you're ready, let's open up Visual Studio Code and get started. Once Visual Studio Code loads, navigate to your Activities directory. We are on Activity 26C, so locate Activity 26C and double-click to load the activity file. Once the activity file loads, review the topic and program requirements. Attempt to implement a solution on your own with the video paused. Once completed, resume the video and I will demonstrate my implementation as well as provide insights to the activity topic. Alright, let's get started. So as we can see, this topic is on external modules. We have a program summary, and the summary states that we have an existing program that's complete, but all the codes exist in a single module. This code can benefit from being organized into multiple external modules. The requirements are to organize the code into two external modules based on their functionality. We have a message module and a math module. So these are the same modules that we used in Activity 26B, except now we're going to implement them as external modules instead of inline modules like we did in the previous activity. The first thing we'll need to do to create external modules is to create a library crate. This library crate is going to be part of the same project that we're doing the activities in. Whenever you have a binary project, in order to create a library crate, you need to create some source files and modify your cargo.toml. So we're going to do that now. So the first thing we'll do is go to our cargo.toml file, which is located right here on the left under the activities directory. So we have our cargo.toml there. Now that we've loaded our cargo.toml file, we're going to add a key. The key will be named lib for library. And we'll have to add two pieces of data. We'll add a name, and the name will be the name referred to in Rust source code. I'm going to call mine activity. So whenever we use activity in our source code, we're going to be referring to this external crate. Next, we need to specify where we're actually going to store the code for this external crate. So we'll use path equals, and this will be src/activitylib.rs. So when we're working with the path here, we're specifying the path to an actual file. So we're working with Rust files, so .rs. And when we go to create a file, it will be named activitylib. You can name this whatever you like. Usually you would just use lib at the end for convention, so you know it's a library, but that's completely up to you. Once you have this in your file, go ahead and save. The next thing we'll need to do is open up your file browser on the top left, and we'll need to create the activitylib.rs file. So scroll up to your src directory here. You'll right-click and then create new file. So we'll type in activitylib.rs. So this will be our external crate or external module. Now that we have our external module created, we're going to add a message module and a math module according to the activity directions. To do so, we just type in pub mod msg. So we'll name that module msg. And we'll have pub mod math. And so we'll have two modules. The next thing we'll need to do is actually create these modules by opening up the file browser on the left, and then going back up to the source directory, clicking new file, and then we'll make the math module, so math.rs. And then we'll do the same thing. We'll go to this src directory, new file, and we'll create msg.rs. So those will be our math module here and our message module here. Remember that our activitylib file here actually just allows us to make additional modules. So the activitylib isn't a module itself, it just defines a crate which contains modules. Although you can put functions directly into that crate itself too. So now that we've created our crate and our two modules, we can jump back to our code and start moving things around. So I'm going to close this file browser on the left. I'm going to leave the MSG and math modules open, that way I can transfer code to them. I'm then going to click on the activity file so we can grab some code. So I'll start with the message functions because I know they come first. So the message functions start with trim. So I'll just select those, and then we'll grab capitalize, and we'll also grab the exciting function. So we'll take all these functions, we'll cut them out. We'll then click on our message.rs module, and then we'll just paste them in. Once these are pasted in, we'll also want to make them public. That way they can be accessed from outside of this module. Once those are made public, we can just save the file. And we no longer need this open anymore, so I'm just going to close the message.rs module. Now we're back here in our activity file, and we're just going to cut out these math functions, and those will get placed into the math module here. So we'll paste them in here, and then we'll do the same thing. We'll just make them all public. That way they can be accessed outside this module. I'll save that and close it. The next thing we'll do is run a cargo check just to see what kind of errors we get. Hopefully the compiler provides us some guidance on what to do next. To open up a terminal, we can go to Terminal, New Terminal. Run activity 26C, so we can run cargo check -- bin A26C. We should get some errors about missing functionality. So here it states that we cannot find the function add in this scope. So the function is not found, that's because we moved it somewhere else. And it tells us to consider importing this function. And it tells us to use activity math add. So remember, we named our external module activity, and then we created a math module, and we moved the add function there. So it's recommending that we use that. So now I'll hop back to the code, and we can make the necessary changes to use this module. Back in our code, I'm going to go into the main function, and we'll use activity. So the activity is our external crate, and we're going to access the math module within. So that will allow us to use the math module directly in our code. So I'll go down to the add function, and we'll just use math. We'll use math here, and we'll use math there. So what's happening here is we're using this external module activity. We're then accessing the math module that was set up here in the activity module. And then we're accessing the add function. The reason we're putting this use activity math is that way we can just use math directly here, here, and here. Otherwise, we would need to type out activity, select the math module every single time we wanted to use any of the functions. So this is just a shorter way to access the functionality contained within. Next, I'll be importing the functionality from the messaging module so that way we can utilize that in our program. So if we scroll down here to the messaging section, we can create a new block, and then I'm just going to cut all this code and place it into that block. So we'll put it right here. And now within this block, I'm going to use activity, messaging, and then we're going to use the functions that we actually need. So we need trim, we need capitalize, and we need exciting. So what we're doing here on this line is we're accessing the activity module. We then access the messaging module contained within, and we then pull in these three functions into our scope. Doing it in this fashion allows us to access these functions directly without the need of making mention of these two modules. That way we can just use it as is. So we can use trim, capitalize, and exciting without typing in all of this because we already did it one time here. And this curly brace creates a new block. So this won't pollute any other code outside of this block. Now that we've got our code set up, let's run the program and see if it works. I'll jump back to the terminal, and we'll do a cargo run. And there we go. Our program works just as expected. Before finishing up the video, we'll just do a quick review of how this all works. So if we take a look at our files, we'll see we have our cargo.toml file. And that includes a library right here. We named it activity, and that's the one that we use in the code. So we always are going to specify this by the word activity. We gave it a path, which is source directory activitylib.rs. And that file is present over here on the left. Within that activity lib, we have two modules declared. They're both made public. That way they can be accessed outside of this module. We use pub, mod, and the name of the module. We have a math module and a messaging module, and both of those modules just contain the code that we need. Back in our source program, we use the activity module, and then we can just access the modules like we normally would with inline functions and modules. This concludes the activity on external modules. I'll see you in the next presentation.